Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am so excited to have actor, educator, speaker, and stuntwoman extraordinaire, Michelle C. Smith. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So I first came across you, as many people probably did, online. I saw this video that went viral and I thought, wow, I want to be her when I grow up. I just think it's incredible. So I just
Thank you.
I just listed these things, this actor and speaker and stunt woman, and I just think, okay, any one of those things require work and time just to do one, and you've you've managed to do them all. So I was just curious, did one of those things attract you as a child that was going to be your goal, or how is it that you started this journey toward these things?
Well, looking back in hindsight, I guess you can see how all the pieces fit together. But I don't know if when I was young, if it was like a conscious thing of like, oh, I'm going to do all these things. I think that my training
Yeah.
all just amalgamated in the right, perfect concoction. But I started when I was 5 years old as a baton twirler, which is a pretty obscure sport. I don't remember why I started. My mom doesn't even remember. She's just like, I don't know, you wanted to do that. I'm like, cool. But it was pretty serious for me. And we trained every day. It was about 40 hours a week. So by the time I was 9, I was going to nationals. By the time I was 11, I was competing at the world championship. So it was a very serious sport. The only way I can sort of explain it is like, imagine the Olympic gymnasts in the 90s. That's sort of what my life was like. It was very much modeled on something similar to that. But we also, because baton twirling requires so much body movement, so we were learning all these baton skills, but we were also taking dance full time and taking gymnastics classes. So I just had a really broad range of movement growing up. And then when I was 19, I was like, I'm going to work professionally, and was like, I'm going to be a dancer. And so like tried to go to LA and do the dancing. I was like, I'm going to dance for the Backstreet Boys. That's what I'm going to do. But by the time I made it out to like professional land, the Backstreet Boys weren't cool anymore. And like no artists were hiring dancers anymore. Like I sort of missed the wave of like the Janet Jackson, Britney
Yeah.
Spears. So I danced for a few years and was like, I need something a little bit more athletic. Like I have
Yeah.
more to offer. And so then I got into circus arts and I performed with a professional circus company called the Underground Circus. And I was doing like silks and hoop and rope acts and like partner balancing and contortion. And I'm using air quotes because I'm not a contortionist, but like you fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, that's when I really became a working artist, and I was performing like multiple times a week. We do a lot of corporate shows because unless you're Cirque du Soleil, there's no budget and no money to be made in original circus. And then through circus is where I started meeting stunt performers. And one day I was just sort of hanging out with stunt people and they were playing with swords. And I was like, I can do that. Watch me. And they were like, you should do stunts. I was like, yeah, you're right. So then I started doing stunts and like learning martial arts. And so it's like just
Wow.
me following the breadcrumbs of like
Yeah.
what's appearing, but knowing that like there's something I'm curious about this direction. So I'm just going to keep walking down this path and see what's unfolding for me before my eyes. And so like I don't know if it was ever an intentional thing, but it just sort of happened
Yeah.
this way.
Wow, that's amazing. So it's like your journey kind of paved itself with just all these
Yeah.
like accumulation of skills. That's amazing. Well, on that, actually, I kind of wonder, because you are like multi-talented in all these different kind of arenas of dance and all these different kinds of
Mhm.
things. I wonder like what kind of skills you think that you might have had to work on like the most, that were maybe the most
Mm.
difficult challenge for you.
Yeah, I would say that for me, determination is a strength of mine. So I came like I'm an Aries sun and a Leo moon. I got a lot of fire. And so like I can push myself. And even from a young age, I remember the first time that I asked my mom to take me to the gym so that I could practice. And that all came from me. I was like 8. I'm like, I want to go to the gym. I want to practice because there was other people around me that were better than me. So
Yeah.
I've had that. I've always been a very creative person. I always really enjoyed the time of year when we were making up routines.
Mhm.
But for me, the thing that I struggled with was being able to focus all that energy and power to perform when it's needed in the moment. Like when I was competing when I was a kid, I had a lot of performance anxiety because my brain is like and I didn't have any tools back then to be able to like sort of zone it in and like focus on the task. And
Yeah.
so I think my biggest struggle in life has been sort of taking all of the energy that's happening around me and just really distilling it. And I, looking back now at my professional career, I think that I unconsciously chose a career path where I had to learn how to perform under pressure as a matter of health and safety. Like if
Yeah.
I don't, I can get really hurt. And so it's interesting to see how unconsciously I chose that path. But for me, it was that like, how do I take all this skill and talent that I'm able to cultivate? Not saying that I didn't have to work hard because I had to work very hard for the skills, but it was the hard part was like being able to package it in a way when it counted and learning how to perform. I think that was another thing I had to learn. I wasn't naturally like I'm an introvert. Like I'm not naturally like but I've learned how to do that over the course of my entire life's worth
Yeah.
of training and career. And it like, if anything, that would be my weakness today is like I want to hide, but knowing that like part of the reason I feel called to keep continuing this work is to share it with people. So to share it with people, you got to be out there. And it's taken me 30 plus years to learn how to do that in a way that's effective. So I think that would be like the hardest thing that I had to like the most challenging thing. It wasn't necessarily the skills, even though it was there, but I had some natural athleticism and determination that carried me through, and that wasn't the real thing that I struggled with. And so it was all like the mental game. And
Yeah.
like we didn't talk about that when I was training in the 90s. Like you're just like, oh, you dropped your baton in competition, maybe you should suck less. And you're like, oh, I'm
Oh,
12. I don't know how to do
yeah.
that.
Oh, wow, that's interesting that you would say that's more the mental challenge than the physical challenge to have to overcome because like I tried the 2 minute tutorial just to kind of give it a shot because I'm like, well, let's try. And it took a second, but I was like, you know what? I could do it. And I was like, I didn't think I could do it, but she thought I could do it. So that really helped me. So
Uh-huh.
it's amazing that
Yeah.
it was the mental that you were to say that, but
Yeah.
that's
And I'm not any more special than anybody else in the world. Like I started young and that's what helps. But you can learn and teach yourself how to do anything, but there is a whole mental aspect to that of you could spend the 2 minutes, learn the backhand flip or whatever tutorial you've watched. But in order to really receive and download the skill, there's a process that has to go with it. And a lot of that process, it's not necessarily the physical challenge, it's the mental challenge and the like determination and the discipline to be like, okay, I want to master this skill, but I have to do it more than once. I have to fail at the skill a bunch of times before I'm going to master it. And I think that especially nowadays where we just want instant gratification. It's just we've been conditioned and trained that way over the last couple of decades.
yeah,
And I think that's where that mental game comes in because you sort of have to convince yourself to like, okay, I'm going to practice this skill to be
right.
good at it. And I find that these tutorials are so much bigger than the skills themselves. Like they're very much a metaphor for life because how often like if you're going to pursue your goals and dreams, chances are you're not going to hit it the first time out. I mean, like some people do, and good for them. But most of us, we have to spend a lot of trial and error and time and effort. And the staff spinning skills are very much a metaphor for that. Because in order to get the skill, you have to drop the staff. But if you're
Mhm.
afraid to drop the staff, you're never going to get the skill. And so you have to. There's that acceptance of I'm going to do this, and I'm going to drop it. I'm going to pick it back up. I'm going to try again. Pick it back up. I'm going to try again. And life. Like, can
Yeah.
you imagine if when we were learning to walk the first time we tried to walk as a baby, we were like, I fell on my butt. That's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But not walking for me. Carry
Yeah.
me everywhere. It doesn't work
Yeah.
like that. You had to fall multiple times before you were able to walk and then run. And then now it's just something you don't think about. And like, I think it's like something we need to be reminded of, because we're all
Yeah.
just like, I want the answer now. I want to be good at this now. You're like,
Yeah, it's true. That's exactly what I was thinking as far as watching you and thinking about, okay, she makes it look so easy, but I just imagine the years she probably
mm-hmm.
had to do to get to where
Yeah.
she's at. And actually, that's actually something I was curious about is what about what you do would surprise people? Like, what do you think that kind of maybe especially off scene, like off screen somewhere?
Yeah, I think that people would be surprised at how accessible the skills are in terms of learning. And that's one of my goals in teaching these skills is I want to make them accessible, and there's so much more to them than just the skill itself. But I think people would be surprised. Like, you can look at my videos, and obviously I have been doing this my whole life. So there's a certain level of proficiency and mastery that's there. But like I said before, I'm not any more special than you are or anybody else is. So if I can learn it, you can learn it. And I think that people are a little bit intimidated by the things that they see out in the world, and they're like, that's not achievable to me. And one of the things that I really want to get across from people, aside from like sharing the actual technical skill, is that you can use skills like this to help you feel more confident and powerful in your life. And so if you have any sort of self-doubt or insecurity about your abilities, a skill like freestyle staff spinning can be really helpful in that, because you're proving to yourself over and over and over again that you can learn it. But yeah, I'm not any better or more special. I think would say the only thing is that I was born left-handed. And so I have more of an ability to use my other hand than
Yeah.
most right-handed people, but like, it's accessible to anybody. Anybody can be the best at what they do. It's just like, what effort are you willing to put in? And you don't have to be the best at things. Like, I did a video a couple months back where like, mastery isn't the answer to everything. Mastery helps for sure, but mastery doesn't necessarily get you farther in life. There's so many other factors. And so like, I just want people to know that if they really want to achieve something, anything, that it's
Yeah.
possible, that they
Hmm.
can do it. And
Yeah.
maybe a skill like staff spinning might be a helpful tool in order for somebody to find that self-belief in
Yeah.
getting to whatever goal or dream that is.
Yeah. Well, so because you've been doing this for a while, you really seem
Mm-hmm.
to, know the ins and outs. Kind of like a musician who like knows like they could do it in their sleep and like
Yeah.
so somebody who who knows something and they had to do the discipline to learn it. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of am curious as to how you use that to like design the movement. Like, are you
Mm-hmm.
purposely putting in something that's difficult? Are you just feeling it out? Are you being
Mm-hmm.
creative? Like, how is it that you put these routines together?
For me, it's sort of a all of the above situation.
Hmm.
I for me personally, I'm not practicing hard tricks anymore. Been there, done that. Like, I don't need to do that. So for me, when I'm putting together a combo, it's about what feels good, and that's like a whole like mental process that I'm going through, because I've spent so much of my life being like, not good enough, keep going, not good enough, keep going, and like finally hitting that wall of like, I've been doing this for more than 30 years. I think I'm good enough. I think I'm okay. And so for me, putting together combos, I'm more interested in creating interesting conversations with
Okay.
them, and finding new ways in and out of skills, but not doing anything that I'm going to sit there for 4 hours and drop 10 bazillion times. But there was a point in my life where I really enjoyed that process. And I think that having the ability to just be present with the staff is one of the greatest gifts that you could give yourself, because it is a creative thing, there is a lot of technique behind it,
Hmm.
but that technique is very consistent, It's all about physics. It's just mechanics. And so if you can understand mechanics, you can access that technique. And that's something that when I built my online academy, is I really wanted to reiterate and really solidify for my students is build up your foundation, build up your understanding of the basics, because then you can create your own thing. And I called it freestyle staff because I wanted people to be able to access these skills and use them in whatever capacity feels good for them. And I kind of give it like a martial arts sort of flowy dancey vibe. But if you're like purely martial arts, go for it. If you want to use it as like a dance thing, go for it. If you're just using it, which a lot of people do, just as a nice little break during their day to like help keep them focused or get a bit of a shoulder workout, then that's perfect. Like do it like that. But I think the way forward is to really build that foundation of skills, because then you can learn anything. If you understand the basic mechanics of the skill, then you're setting yourself up for success. And I think that, again, it goes back to this metaphor that if you have a really strong foundation, you're able to take on information because you can hold that information with that strong foundation that you've built. And so, yeah, I encourage my students to drop their staff. That's kind of a thing that I'm doing to heal myself as well, because you do need to drop your staff in order to learn the skills.
Yeah.
So you can't be afraid of dropping. But when I was young and competing, I would often get in trouble for dropping. And then it became this thing that I was really anxious about. And so by giving people permission to drop, it's just sort of taking out that layer of feeling like they're failing at something, where I'm like, no, I want you to fail. I want you to drop it. I want you to mess up. I don't want you to hit yourself in the face, but it could happen. But just be aware. You're moving a solid stick around your body. Bones hurt. And just really encouraging people to enjoy the process of learning, because it's a journey. It's an adventure all in itself. Having allowed myself to get to the point of mastery, I can tell you that mastery never ends. Like you're never gonna, like there's always going to be something to work with. So having the adventure be the process of learning, and how like over time you realize that you've actually improved quite a bit, is really important. But I do encourage my students to start making up their combos, and as soon as they have like a basic understanding. And then sometimes, a lot of the times that I'll do with content I'm posting online, is I will simplify it and keep it within the skills that I have tutorials for, so that other people can see the combo and see how I've put things together, and just copy the combo. Or I have a couple combo courses on my academy website where here's all the skills, here's how you put it together. It's sort of like drag and drop little puzzle pieces. And I want that to be what people understand, because that's the language of it. Here's a couple words, here's how you put that word in a sentence, and then as you practice that sentence, you start understanding to have a full fluent conversation with it. But for me personally, I'm not doing anything difficult. But what things I'm most amazed about is I now have students that are getting into this like advanced level, and to see the new pathways and skills and ideas that they come up with, having just been learning this over the last couple of years, is really incredible and very inspiring. Because like I have such a like, this is how it goes, my brain, and like this technique, like it's so integrated into my nervous system and my brain that like there's pathways that I just don't see. And to have new people come in and learn these skills from a beginner level, like adults learning from a beginner level, just like a lot of my students started at the beginning of the pandemic, and they're killing it now. They're doing stuff that I was like, I never would have thought of that. I didn't see that before. Like, look at that. That's incredible. And I'm so proud of that, because that's art. Like that's the true essence of the art. Like I can give you the skills, and I want to give you the skills. I didn't learn the skills to keep them for myself. But what you create with it, that's magic. That's I love it. I love it so much.
That is so cool. That's what I thought was so amazing about when I was like watching your videos, and I'm sure other people feel the same way. And I was actually going to ask you. So I just feel like you've inspired so many people with your videos. I think people really wanted to pick up the staff, and they just, I think maybe like me, I just see the joy that that it brings you. And I just feel like, wow, that's amazing. So I feel like you've really inspired people. And I kind of want to know, like, who or what might have inspired you over time, whether it was in your actual
Hmm.
profession or maybe personally, like who
Hmm.
inspired you?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I was really inspired by obviously the older athletes.
Yeah.
There was one girl, her name was Stacy Singer, and she was a baton twirler from Regina, and she won worlds when she was 8. Like she was phenomenal, like a phenom. And I really like was like, I want to be Stacy Singer, and I would have judges telling me they're like, yeah, you look like Stacy Singer, and I was just like, oh my God, she's so cool. And then as I got older, I met her and we became friends, and that was really cool. And then in my professional career, I often find, and this has been true in the like 20 years that I've been working professionally now, is I'm very much inspired by people who have the courage to go out there and do their own thing, because it's
Um,
really, really challenging
yeah.
to create your own projects. And because it's a very vulnerable thing to put your art into the world, especially now with social media. Like I just posted a video last week. And when I tell you that I had 4 days of like intense anxiety before I posted it,
Oh,
because knowing that millions of
yeah.
people potentially will see this video, I was just like, but I'm gonna post it anyway. But I really admire people who are able to translate their artistry into a way that they put out into the world, and
Mhm.
the world accepts it and loves it, and like they really take it on. I'm also really inspired by people who live outside societal norms and have either had to come out or like really reiterate who they are and have the
Yeah.
courage and the audacity to be different than other
Yeah.
people in the world, because again that is so challenging to do, because we just want to stay safe and we want to feel accepted by the world, but to know that just who you are isn't necessarily accepted in some parts of the world, but you're going to be that person anyway. Like I think that is incredible. And I it's something I think about almost daily of like, okay, like how can I be more authentic to who I am and what my purpose is and what I'm putting out there in the world, because that to me is the ultimate courage. And I think about that a lot. And like there's not like necessarily one person or show that I'm like, oh, I want to be just like that. But there's like this general air of like, oh, that person
Yeah.
themselves, and they've put themselves out into the world, and look at the success they're having from that. If they can do that, I can do that. And we're just gonna keep going. And it's like this like little baby steps of like, okay, I'm gonna put that out. Okay, cool. I'm gonna put that out. Okay, cool. Whew. All right.
Yeah.
Next part. Like keep going. And I think that's I do hear a lot that I've inspired people, which I think is really cool. And I'm really grateful and honored that people find me inspiring. But I really think that the mark of a good leader is someone that's willing to go out there and do the work with people and show up with people. And that's something that's really important to me. Is I don't have all the answers. I still am like feel like I haven't made it in my career. There's still more for me to do. I got to keep going. I got to keep pushing, but I want to do it in a way that feels good to
Hmm.
me. And there, like I was talking about before, there's a whole mental game
Yeah.
to doing this. and and that's gonna exist in whatever line of work, whatever industry you're doing. If you're doing something of like your own volition, it takes vulnerability and it takes courage. And so in order to do that, you got to be out there with
Yeah.
people. And I think that um just constantly pushing that, and if that inspires other people to do that, then I think that that is a very good marker of success. uh because we gotta help each other, we gotta work together. And it's not easy out there.
Yeah.
It's not easy when you know that you're not able to follow that traditional route that a
Hmm.
lot of people can take. Like some people that works for them, for me, does not work. Like
Yeah.
I've tried it. And
Yeah.
in my career, especially in film, it's a really good example. When I follow the sort of like accepted route of like how to be an actor or how to be a stunt performer, I'm invisible. People cannot see me. And it's not until I'm doing my own thing that I start getting people coming in and being like, "Oh, I love what you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, I've been doing it forever." It's like, but it's scary,
Yeah.
and it's not easy. It's very vulnerable. And so yeah, I really admire people that are able to like push through and do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, all the more reason why I think what you've done is really amazing. I mean, this is why I'm saying, like, when I came across your videos and then I would just see one after the other, I'd be like, okay, first of all, who is this amazing person? How is she able to do that? And I also feel like you've you've kind of given visibility to I think an industry that's not often like
Hmm.
praised or seen.
Yeah.
Um, because I never really thought about those people who work so hard in like movies and television who do, these crazy things. And I feel like when I was watching your videos and I was looking on your page, I'm like, that's her. Like she's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
Thank you.
It's incredible. So I
Thank you.
definitely think that you putting yourself on the internet, I feel like it's given visibility to your skills and your company, like what you've done.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
incredible. But on that, I'm kind of curious. The internet has seen so many things that you can do, and we know. But I kind of feel like I wonder if there's also some more secret talents in there somewhere, or secret ambitions. Like maybe you're like an amazing singer and nobody knows it yet. Like you're waiting to tell us later.
um, I'm not an amazing singer. I would love to be an amazing singer. I've thought about multiple times about taking voice lessons because I do so much talking in my work
Yeah,
that I'm like, it would probably be helpful for me to learn how to use my voice. I have a secret fantasy to be a rock star. I've taken guitar lessons at several points in my life, but I
yeah.
haven't quite mastered it. And like that's sort of a block that I have where I know what it takes to find mastery. And when I learn new skills, I'm like, I don't want to do the work. But I'm fairly proficient very quickly at a lot of skills. So
Wow.
I have a secret fantasy to be a rock star because I want to play electric guitar in like a rock band, preferably with like Dave Grohl or something. But I want to like go on stage. I don't need to be the lead singer. I'll sing like a couple songs, but I want to do like crazy guitar rock lunges and
There
like
you go.
pyro. Like I've wanted to do that since I was a kid. But um I think that my special talents, I use them, I monetize them as much as possible. But I would love to be a rock star. I think I'm actually a fairly good writer. I think I will write a book someday.
Should.
I've actually been writing a book for like 10 years, but it's more of like a memoir type thing. And
I'd read it.
um, I thank you. Thank you. I just feel like I'm kind of in the last chapter of
Okay.
whatever this current book is. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to write that yet, but I would love to be like write a novel, like a science fiction fantasy something. But
Yeah.
like it's not right now, but I would love to do that. And I think that I'm a fairly good writer. So I hope that,
See, I knew there was another talent somewhere in there that you
yeah,
had to be a secret. So, writer, wow.
yeah,
And you already have one of the most important skills about being a writer, discipline. Like
yeah,
to actually
yeah,
start and finish something. I mean, I think you
totally.
could probably do that science fiction novel for sure.
Yeah,
If
we'll
you could
get
do what
there.
you do, I think you could do it for sure. But,
Yeah.
or, if you ever become proficient on that rock star, you could probably still go on tour with the Backstreet Boys eventually.
100%. You know what? They're still on tour to this
Exactly.
day. And they're
You
all in
never
like
know.
their 40s and 50s. And I'm like, you know what, guys? Go for it. Like, do your thing. If you're making money, go for it. Yeah. And you know what? I knew even when I was a kid uh, that I can do anything. And that's one of the things that my training really taught me is from a young age I was successful in my sport. It was
Mhm.
difficult, yes, but I found success and it came from determination. And if I can find success in this obscure sport that's actually really difficult and that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people don't do it, then I can do anything in my life as long as I believe in myself. So, like, I could learn to play guitar. Like, I could get a gig where I get hired as an actor and they're like, we need you to learn how to play guitar. Like, it happens to actors all the time. And
Yeah.
I'm like, deal, I'm there. And write a book at any point in my life. I could also go back to university and become a paleontologist because that's what I wanted to do when I was 2 or in grade 2 was be a paleontologist and dig up dinosaur bones. But I think that all of that is possible and maybe one of the things that we're learning as our world is shifting and changing is like there used to be this old narrative that you pick one thing and that's what you do for the rest of your life. but
Yeah.
I don't think that that creates a happy life.
Hmm.
And I think that if you want to have multiple chapters of your life, go for it. If you got a job and you love it and you want to do it for 40 years, do that. Have fun. But I think for someone like me, I think that I just want to keep exploring. I just want to keep
Yeah.
going. I also think that I could be very good at volleyball.
Hey.
I've never really played because I've never had the time to play sports, but I'm a good jumper, have really good hand-eye coordination, obviously. So um, I would like to play like beach volleyball, I think. And
Yeah.
if that's my way into the Olympics, then I'll do it. I'll go to the
You're
Olympics
gonna
when I'm
get
in my
there
40s.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Some way you're gonna get it. Because I guess you probably skipped the gymnastics, but your wrists are probably so strong that that volleyball ambition.
Do it. I think I could do it. Like the one where it's just two people and you play, I think I could do that. It would take time for me to learn, obviously, but I think that I have some prerequisite skills that would be really helpful for that.
Absolutely. I am rooting for you. I think you could do
Thank
it.
you.
I cannot wait to go see you in concert, to read your book, and to root for you in the
Thank you.
Olympics. And I feel
Thank
like
you.
it's just the beginning. The sky is
Yes.
the limit, and I just think it's amazing that you're oozing skill and you still want to do more. I that blows my mind. I think it's incredible,
Thank
and I
you.
thank you so much for spending some time talking about
My
everything
pleasure.
here.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lovely conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so nice to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be
Mm-hmm.
following it on your story and see what's next. I know it's gonna be something crazy.
Like so one of these days I'm going to be like, you guys, I'm going on a tangent. People are going to be like, what? I'm like, well, here we go. Going on an adventure.
I know. Who knows what's gonna be behind the next door? I think it's gonna be great. I really do.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you again.
And thank you for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.